next we have Gokul and Ravi talking about AWS cost optimization. Are you guys already prepared? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, you got to come on stage. I mean, you can talk from over there, but. Whoa.
Cool. Thank you. That was a phenomenal talk. First of all, big round of applause to the organizers for the phenomenal job. So good afternoon, everyone. Imagine you're on a road trip, driving all around the country. You hit the road and packed your bags. Before that, obviously, did all the planning. As the miles roll by, you notice that your fuel, your consumption is way higher than you expected, and your fuel gauge is falling rapidly. And you're concerned if you're going to reach the destination without breaking the bank, right? So many of you here celebrating this conference, which celebrates obviously DevOps principles, cost optimization in cloud can feel a lot like that road trip, right? You start with all due diligence to build, operate, and of course deploy the solutions. But without proper planning and vigilance, you can quickly end up in a similar situation, and you'll put your priorities, other projects at jeopardy, right? As per Gartner's research, companies who don't optimize for cost end up overspending by 70%. I'm Ravi Thakur, Senior Solutions Architect with AWS, supporting some of the large-scale and most advanced companies as our customers. And in my day-to-day job, my focus is helping them optimize on their cloud costs and also making the most of their cloud investments, right? And I specialize in microservices, AI, ML, and generative AI. Along with me, my colleague Gokul Sarangaraju.
Hey everyone. I am also a senior solution architect working for AWS. I've been with AWS for a little over 4.5 years. And in my focus area is cloud financial management. And I support customers to help them adopt AWS services and also help them build cloud-native, cost-aware architectures. I also contribute to the AWS cost and usage query library, repos, which is the answers forum from AWS, and also Cloud Intelligent Dashboard, which you'll hear about it in a minute.
Thank you, Gokul. So cloud cost optimization is a pretty vast and multifaceted topic. Right, in the next 30 minutes, our goal is to help you with a mindset, a framework, and helping with certain tools on that front, right? So having said that, let's move on. So for AWS, commitment to cloud cost optimization is rooted in our leadership principles, right? So if you look at, you might be already familiar with the gravitons, for example, right? So which are our own custom silicons that deliver up to 40% better price performance. And since its inception, AWS has reduced the price 129 times since its launch, right? So all this means to say is cost optimization is one of our top focus areas we're working with the customers. And we don't stop there, right? Lowering IT spend is just the beginning. But along with that, we work with our customers to help drive productivity, faster innovation, extract insights to make better decisions, and obviously how you can leverage AI, ML to streamline and save the cost. Let's see how some of the companies are leveraging AWS for cost optimization, some of the real-world examples. Salesforce, for example, who run a petabyte scale data lake, have doubled their data processing capacity at the same cost and reduced their processing time from 4 hours to 15 minutes, and not only does compute cost by 60%. Obviously, they leverage a combination of on-demand and spot instances, but more importantly, some of the best practices and the framework that we are going to share shortly. In the world of Formula One, the cost of the cloud fluid dynamics simulations are reduced. They were able to reduce it by 30% and decrease the simulation speed by 80%, right? So, and they're able to achieve this with a combination of course, gravitons and spot instances. But more importantly, some of the best practices we are going to talk about shortly. So the journey to cost optimization starts with visibility, but how can you achieve similar results as companies that mentioned earlier, right? So picture this. You're in a state of chaos where your cloud costs are opaque, uncontrolled, and basically, it's like driving the car without a dashboard, right? You don't know how fast you're going, and that equates to you don't know how much you're spending. The first step is to establish awareness, where you're basically monitoring your cloud spend and usage. It's like driving the car with a dashboard and saying, wow, I'm going way too fast, right? And the next step is basically establishing safeguards, where you establish some cost monitoring mechanisms along with governance policies. It's like running the car on a cruise control, where you're driving at a safe speed. Followed by governance and optimization will help you to use better services to match your needs, to make the most of your solutions, and also refactoring on a continuous basis so that you are efficiently utilizing the resources that are available to you. So the AWS well-architected framework is your comprehensive guide for building and operating secure, reliable, efficient, and sustainable solutions, which is built on the 6 pillars of operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and sustainability. Today, we are going to spend, each of them obviously has its own crucial importance, but we're going to spend some time on cost optimization today, which distills into these 5 essential best practices that serve as your roadmap to optimize your cloud investments, right? Just like a well-planned trip, these best practices helps you with the knowledge, strategies, and guidance for a prescriptive guidance, and at the same time ensuring that you're course correcting along the way, right? So just like Salesforce maximize the flexibility and Formula One gained efficiency, implementing these battle-tested practices will help you to make the most out of your cloud investments. So starting with cloud financial management, right? Implementing cloud financial management is crucial, and as you can see, it starts with establishing ownership to partnership between finance and technology, having cloud budget and forecast, and all the way to quantifying business value from cost optimization. There's so many tenets there. In the interest of time, we'll focus on the monitor cost proactively tenet. So have you ever deployed a solution in cloud only to be surprised by the bill at the end of the month? I'm sure I was there, okay? So that's where your monitoring cost proactively tenet helps. And on those lines, Cost Explorer is one of the tools that can help you with this visibility, right? With helping monitoring the cost proactively. You have comprehensive dashboards, you have trend analysis that you can do, and not only that, you have access to an API that you can build custom dashboards or integrate the cost data into your dashboards and understand how the spend and monitor based on it, right? So some of the feature enhancements that have been recently introduced, where you have more enhanced, basically you can have a longer look back period, granular resource data, and of course usage estimate for opt-in. Not only that, you can basically now go up to 3 years, right? 3 years look back period, which wasn't available before. And you can also do resource level analysis. You can see the before and after picture there. So taking one step further, cloud intelligence dashboards. These are like customizable dashboards, which are easy to use, secure, and quite in-depth and cost efficient, right? So you have variety. As I mentioned, there's a lot of customization options available. Here, you have foundational cloud intelligence dashboards all the way to advanced, addressing all the different personas, okay? Like for example, you can get high-level charts, you can get a KPI dashboard, you can get in-depth insights as far as the foundational elements are concerned. And when it comes to advanced, you have something called Compute Optimizer. You'll hear in from Gokul shortly. And the new additions, Graviton Opportunities dashboard. Working with strategic customers, many of the strategic customers are looking forward to leverage Gravitons, right? So this dashboard gives you a visibility on what are the opportunities out there from a Graviton adoption standpoint. And the latest, the SCAT, split cost allocation data. So this is the ability for you to apply showback and chargeback for multi-tenant EKS clusters. So that's an option that is available as part of Advanced. There are many more. Please feel free to scan the QR code that will take you to the Villa Architected Labs webpage with all the different dashboards that are available, and you can look at the demos and you can do your hands-on, right? So starting with the next best practice, right? You continuously monitor application logs, metrics, and events to ensure the system health, right? But are you continuously inspecting, analyzing the data representing your cloud costs? So that's what expenditure and usage awareness helps you with. So these are 3 core tenets, like governance, monitor cost and usage, decommissioning resources. And again, in the interest of time, we'll be covering the monitor cost and usage tenet, right? And on this front, like, have you ever found it challenging to understand your cloud costs, right? I was there. So here, the monitoring cloud cost and usage helps you with getting a better visibility on your cloud cost, right? And for you to make or take informed decisions from that. So one such tool is very popular, the cost and usage report, right? It's most detailed and granular view of your cost and usage, and you can set the frequency, how many times to get delivered, and build your custom queries and reports based on it. So there are certain gaps in terms of this tool, in what was offered, and some of the new addition kind of take care of those. For example, now you can involve this particular query reports as part of your data pipelines, right? And you can have consistent data schemas, which wasn't available earlier. Earlier, it was just your CSVs and all, right? So not only that, you also have the ability to plug in with your QuickSight dashboards and, of course, the third-party data assets as needed. So with that, I would like to invite Gokul to cover the rest of the best practices and some of the framework going on. Good.
Thanks, Ravi. As my colleague highlighted, the maintaining effective cloud financial practices and understanding how the usage and expenditure awareness behaves, these are foundational. What we have next is the cost-effective resources best practice. Choosing the right selection of resources is so much critical for your cloud cost management. Within the cost-effective resources, you start with choosing the right and appropriate amount of instances and type. You also want to evaluate what are your managed services that you're comfortable running your services on. Selecting the best pricing model within EC2. Understand when to use on-demand instances, the difference between reserved instance and savings plan, and finally, using spot instances, which was the F1 example which Ravi was mentioning. And finally, considering the data transfer charges when you select certain services within AWS. Once you understand everything, cost-effective resources becomes easy. What we now double-click is on how AWS can help you select the correct resource type and then size and the number needed for your cost targets. How many of you are familiar with the tool AWS Compute Optimizer? Show of hands. Perfect. So this is a neat tool where it helps you provide recommendations with the most cost-effective configuration. The main goal of Compute Optimizer is to match your workload with the performance and the capacity needs without over-provisioning. It utilizes your workload utilization. It refers to your utilization metrics, and it suggests optimal resources. It could be either needing the most powerful instances for your workload or the most cost-effective resource type that is needed. Either ways, Compute Optimize's key goal is to put your performance needs first and then optimizes for cost. So engineers, when they look at the recommendation, they can safely assume anything that a Compute Optimizer suggests will not break your application or your workload. Here is a quick look at the Compute Optimizer dashboard, which has evolved over a bit since it has launched. When it was originally launched, it was only recommending the EC2 types and the sizes. Over time, we have added the capability significantly. Here you see that Compute Optimizer now can look at a broader type of resources, starting from auto-scaling group to EBS volumes, Lambda functions, and Fargate on ECS services, and including the license optimizations. If you run Microsoft SQL Server workload, now Compute Optimizer can take a look and suggest the differences between standard and enterprise license types. This is the latest edition as of June. It's a neat release. I was still playing around with this the other day. If you have ODS databases that you have in your environment, now Compute Optimizer can look at those, especially for the MySQL and the PostgreSQL database. It can find out if there are any idle or underutilized ODS instances, and it suggests optimal, either it provides you right-sizing opportunities, or it finds you the optimal IOPS settings and says, okay, this is where you can reap more benefits by sharing the right-sizing recommendations. So what you can see now is Compute Optimizer can not only help you right-size your EC2 instances, but a variety of, for your entire environment, it can provide recommendations. Based on customer feedback, we saw the need for providing additional knobs and customizations so that you can influence the way Compute Optimizer algorithm works behind the scenes. To name a few, we added a new look-back period, which is 32 days. Earlier, it used to only look at either 14 days or 93 days. Now you have a new look-back period of 32 days, so you can make use, you can really influence Compute Optimizer to look at your short-term trends versus long-term trends. Next one is now you can target the Compute Optimizer to look at only certain instance types, right? And you want only to say, give me recommendations so that I can go only to the latest instance type. You want to only use 7th generation instance type, or you want to use 6th generation. Now you can influence the algorithm. Or if you feel that there are certain instance type that doesn't align with my workload, then you can say, skip them, do not recommend them. These are knobs that has been added recently. The two most powerful knobs I would treat is these two, threshold and headroom. This gives you finer grained control of how Compute Optimizer works behind the scenes. One is let's start with threshold. Threshold has three options, P90, 95, and 99.5. You can think of threshold as a way for you to skip certain outliers of your utilization peaks so that Compute Optimizer will ignore them and use the rest of them for its recommendation. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say that you have a dev workload where there are utilization peaks go on and off. You can literally say, use the P90 of threshold, and it will ignore the top 10% of the utilization peaks and use the remaining for its recommendation. It will give an aggressive right-sizing recommendation. Headroom, on the other hand, allows you to add extra buffer or additional resources on top of your existing. So this will give you an opportunity to say, I'm expecting a future growth, even though that is now not using a lot of my resources. Do not give me a most aggressive recommendation, but use something meaningful, right? So you have these knobs of 0%, 20%, and 30%. You can play with this or use the presets at the top. You can say, give me the maximum savings recommendation. It is going to automatically set the threshold and headroom for you. So these are knobs we are giving customers to ensure you have the ability to say, I need performance versus optimization. We covered right sizing. Next up is managing demand and supplying resources based on your workload needs. In AWS, you can automatically provision resources based on fluctuating demand. Autoscaling using demand-based or time-based approaches allows you to do dynamic scaling. You can avoid over-provisioning or to reduce waste. You can first understand your workload, then use these dynamic scaling and buffering and throttling to, as I said, to avoid the waste. The idea is you're supplying just the right amount of resources needed to complete your workload, no more or no less. Let me walk you through with a simple example. Most organizations will have environments, especially on the production environments, running 24/7, 365 days a year. Whereas on the dev and test environments, you will be typically using that in normal business hours. As shown in this diagram, by just shutting down your dev and test environments on those non-business hours, you can achieve significant savings. In fact, If you right-size those dev and test environments, you can save up to 70% of savings for those non-production workloads. This illustrates that understanding your workload and dynamically managing your supply can drive major optimization. The final best practice is optimizing your architectural decisions over time and how it can drive efficiency. As AWS releases more services and features, you have to now start to regularly review your workload, and those architectural decisions, if you review them, then you have opportunities to optimize. Develop a structured review process of your cloud workloads. In fact, prioritize those that are cost critical, right? Those production workloads which are having high cost impact, review them first or even regularly. And then for those low cost items, dev and non-prod, you can maybe review it annually. By doing this structured process, what you will get is you will be having the opportunity to optimize, maybe use some of the managed services for some of the work, and finally able to re-architect your existing architecture. I'll walk you through with a simple workflow that can uncover such savings. A typical journey of lift and shift to AWS, you will immediately start gaining the total cost of ownership simplification, because now you start to use the pay-per-use billing model. Once you are in AWS, you can start to right-size your compute resources with the tools that I shared earlier. And then now you have no more underutilized or unused servers. You can improve elasticity and auto-scale your compute, databases, and storage. Now you have additional value. On the storage side, no more you have to hardly estimate or over-provision your storage within AWS or in any cloud. You start to use the storage needed for your workload, start to optimize it, and use lifecycle policy to further reduce cost. Bless you. At this time, you have your workload running in cloud at an optimized fashion. Now you are getting more value for the dollar that you shared. Once you are in cloud, you will start be able to drive those business metrics, measure them, monitor them, and gradually improve them. You even have the opportunity to start looking at your databases, managed services, your databases and your self-managed services. Now you can move them to managed services. Once you are here, that's when you truly reap the benefit of being in cloud, and you're optimized for being in the cloud. Once you are in this level, right, you can start to look at refactoring your application to go to, say, either serverless or container technology, and you can even innovate further. Let me quickly check on time. Okay, I'm on time. In summary, cost visibility is going to empower you to make powerful, important decisions. Now, but visibility is just a starting point. The real power comes when you take those metrics and combine with those business outcomes. That's when it gives you an accountability and also a culture of cloud financial responsibility. This is the next two slides are important, because you start with establishing KPIs. Once you have KPIs, which will all be dependent on your own organization, once you set a clear KPIs, you start to measure them, track them, and publish them to your leadership. You can even establish a benchmark and start a gamification, so you can have a healthy competition among your teams. Finally, be with an open mind that this will be an iterative process where you suggest certain KPIs to your leadership, and there will be a back and forth on changes to it. So once you change it, sustain that motion, so you can fine-tune those KPIs based on your organizational goals. I'll tie all this together by giving a final example here. Let's imagine that you are reviewing your year-over-year AWS spend, and your management or the leadership team would like to know the reason behind this increase. When you start to dig deeper, you find out that your EC2 cost, while it increased by running hours increased by 40%, your price per vCPU, in fact, has come down. That is because of the commitment-based plans that you have purchased using either using reserved instances or savings plan. So at a high level, even though the cost has increased, but it has not, you are able to subsequently bring more from less. But your management wants more context. That's where tying these AWS spend to your business outcomes becomes important. If, for instance, let's say that 10%, because of the 10%, you are able to provide or allow more searches within your application, like 50%, or you are able to do more business operations with just that 10% cost increase, then tying up those business outcomes to your AWS spends becomes more important. That's where unit cost metrics becomes important to have these conversations. Again, these KPIs of unit cost metrics, building this KPI is not easy. We can talk about this KPI for another whole hour. There are links here. But in short, having this value-based KPIs for your organization is important. And when you track that to your AWS spend or even cloud spend, you can get meaningful cost optimization. We covered a lot today. If you want to take further notes, I highly recommend that you take a screenshot of this. We will be more than happy to share these slides as well. But most of these, what we covered, is highlighted in these links. One final request we have is to shape our future content. We highly encourage you to give some feedback. So this is a QR code, and I'm going to quote Ravi on this. He said it's going to take only 30 seconds to complete the session survey. So that's why I finished maybe a minute earlier. So 30 seconds is all we ask. Any comment, any feedback you can share, it'll be more than helpful. Again, thanks for this opportunity. And if you have any questions, we'll then more than happy to take it.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you all so much. And no questions, Chad? No? Okay, that's cool. Thank you all so much. Please go ahead and do the session survey while we have time.